school year. We appreciate you guys being here, and we have passed out a session agenda. Did everyone on our side, at least most people on our side, get one? Okay. In fact, they're going around. We've agreed to sort of start the session today with just general introductions because we had a lot of new people on sort of both sides, and it's always good, obviously, to know who you're dealing with on a regular basis, right? A lot of us know each other really well, yes. Right? But I know there's new faces in the room. So,
sure.
Do you guys want to start? Or you want me to start?
Sure, we can go first.
Okay.
All right. So I'm Pamela Weston. I'm over at Leon High School, and I'm assuming the role as chief negotiator for LCTA moving forward.
I'm Chris Eagle. I'm the executive director of the Big Bend for Florida Education Association, where I help LCTA and LESPA do bargaining and different labor related things.
I'm Alicia Chelman. I'm at Sealy. I'm a site rep.
Jacob Dummelinger. I'm at Todd.
I'm Laurel Bedford. I teach at Sealy. I'm a site rep and marketing also.
Sarah DeCock, SLP, speech language pathologist over at Hartsfield. I'm the site rep there too. I'm on board of directors and marketing for LCTA.
So let's go, Scott. Scott Mazer, LCTA president.
Kim Strelo, LCTA PD.
Martina Taylor, LCTA secretary, Leon High School site rep.
Is this your bargaining team, or the rest of it were just representatives from LCTA?
Yes.
Okay. Yes. Okay. So I'm Brett Shively. I'm the director of your community schools for Main Schools and chief negotiator.
I'm Casey Kirkland. I'm the director of business.
Russ Ellis, general counsel. He looked at me, man.
Yeah. The group up, the first group, and then we'll go with the rest. So there's Will, and then
Wallace Knight, employee relations, policy, and compliance.
and now we can go with you, Rusty.
Sure.
Yes.
Rusty Edwards, principal at Fairview.
I'm very proud of Sealy Elevators.
Shane Cypher, director for professional learning and curriculum services.
Scott Hanson, director of secondary schools and student activity. Joe Burgess, principal at Charles High School.
Alan Cox, assistant superintendent of school management.
Dean McAllister, employee relations school management assistant superintendent.
Diana Kilgore, HR. Allison Huffin, Berkeley General Counsel and Policy and Planning.
Jason Carter, principal of Hickory.
Jenny Jenkins, ESC coordinator for behavior services, sitting in for Kathy Shields, our director, who is out of town. Kathy Sanders, budget.
Naomi Coughlin, CFO.
All right. Yep. That's us.
We did it. First thing done.
So very happy to be here with you guys tonight, and I think that the very first thing that we wanted to talk about was just sort of what we plan to discuss for this year's bargaining sessions. So do you guys want to start?
Sure. So our intention is to start with Articles 7, 8, and then present 10 today. 7 and 8 are things that we've already been working on in work groups with class sizes, duty times, things that we've already been discussing. So I don't think there's any surprises there. And then we're also going to go into what's mandatory, supplements, and salary as we move into the summer. We're a little closer on budgets and what that looks like.
And then, of course, compensation is always mandatory. So
yes.
we'll be discussing compensation. Of course, we're sort of tying compensation in with the supplements.
Yes.
And so I know that there's been a lot of discussion around supplements and talking about how we can go about fixing those. So that'll be part of the Article 21 conversation.
Yes.
And in addition, we'll want to discuss the Article 13 related to evaluations.
Okay.
And then we do want to follow up regarding the teacher transfer process that's outlined in the meeting.
Yes.
We just, as you know, we signed an MOU for the remaining of this year, and we'd like to try to memorialize that same agreement into the actual.
Yeah, we have some feedback in order to discuss that moving forward on how it went out this year.
Absolutely. And then, we have a to be determined article that we may be bringing.
Okay. Excellent.
So if you guys would like to, do you want to start with your?
Yeah, let's start with 10. Get right into it. All right. I have 20 copies for our side and your side, so you might have to share a little bit. Oh, Kim, they don't have any down there yet. Okay.
Thank you. Yes. Right, we made this because it was the. Yeah, right.
I have one.
We needed to add more in.
This is clean.
Yes.
Oh, thanks. Okay. Sure. Clean. Not doing the job.
Great job. I think it was just missing the word.
Okay. Everyone wants them done. I think it should be raised.
Okay.
So they are available.
I think it's the same thing for people to measure 31 university education is not available. We just need that.
Okay.
Yeah. It's. Oh, no, yeah, that's just for when we go through the. When we go. Yeah, like, I'll sit the.
Oh, you colorful?
I must be.
So just discovered.
Yeah, the highlighted, so usually we would highlight or we would red one and then underline the new stuff. But that's okay.
Oh, it's just redded.
Here, do you want me to outline it for you? To accommodate your.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
That's very kind.
Sorry,
Yeah.
sorry.
I have a.
Next time I'll do that. I was just.
Went to the MTSS project.
We
We got some.
I'm like, I don't see anything on this thing.
This is the same. We accept.
So you just TA it and. What we
I was
did,
the close one. It's the same
we're gonna
thing.
move on, so.
You can see the stripe there, right?
I'll underline.
And I guess we could just go through
Like,
and
why are
if
we doing this?
do you want
period?
to present out on each item that you?
Yes, not much.
Okay.
Yeah, I weeded it down. So some of it is, so we're starting at Article 10 and I'm looking at 10.01 F. It was just missing a word, so I added the correct word in there. And, all right, so that's 10.01 F, that I added the word not. If the union representation is not available, we'll have to extend the time for that circumstance. 10.02 personnel files, looking at B, employees may review and copy materials in their school site or district personnel file under conditions necessary to provide for its integrity and safekeeping. The employee may be charged the authorized district charge for copying such materials. And then we added a line of employees will be granted access to their files within 72 hours of their written request. We've gotten some feedback that timeliness is not of the essence sometimes when those files are being requested. And so we think a 72-hour policy would speed that along and allow that to work better and with a written request. So you and I can't have a verbal conversation about it and then expect to happen. Write in an email, I'd like access to this 72 hours from that point in time.
So when you're saying 72 hours, do you mean 3 business days?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, yeah.
I just wanted to make sure.
For weekends, yes, understood. 10.03A, it was missing the letter E in the original version that I had, so I just added that in. 10.04 reimbursement for damaged property. I did a little bit of contract cleanup in the sense where I just, everything had personnel files separated out within the subsection of A. So I just went and did that for the rest of the article. So that way it was a little easier to find what you're looking for. And then we added some language in here. So The district, through its risk management office, will repay or reimburse employees the current value of any clothing or personal property damaged or destroyed in the course of the legal performance of his or her assigned duties, unless such loss is covered by insurance or reimbursement is obtained from other sources. The district will reimburse the employee the amount of their insurance deductible. So if we're able to replace it with our insurance, the deductible we're seeking the reimbursement for. This repair and reimbursement provision does not apply to clothing or personal property that is not reasonably related to the appropriate and appropriate to an employee's assignment, such as expensive jewelry. We got the rings in there. And then we crossed off expensive watches and electronic devices such as cell phones. I know that we previously brought this article up last year when discussing it, and we had discussed that the district has never not potentially replaced a cell phone. We think that it needs to be that it's time, given everything that we do on our phones. We have the Rave app on our phones and other things, that we remove that language and just put it in there, that if there is a circumstance where a phone needs to be replaced, it's in there, and it's not at the will of someone else to make that decision. We've had a very cooperative person so far making that decision. If that changes, we think that that needs to be in there permanently. We're using our phones all the time for different things within our classrooms.
Where did you put it? I'm sorry.
I just crossed it out. So instead of, it says that except for 10.04A, we just took it out as the except for now, and then it would just be a reasonably related expense.
So why would expensive watches be removed?
I mean, we have smart watches now that can access the Rave app. Teachers are using those. If those get smashed in a fight, I mean, an Apple Watch is expensive nowadays, and that would be part of that. Now, Rolexes, that's not necessarily a reasonable thing, but if our smartwatch is a use to contact out of the classroom for certain things, and certain school sites have been told to use your cell phone to call us, then I think that a smartwatch in that regard would be part of it.
That you've been asked to use your cell phone to call?
To call the main office if we have a problem in our classroom because our classroom phones aren't working.
Okay.
Or on lunch duty, we don't have walkie-talkies and we're all spread out. Use your cell phone to call us in. So cell phones, we're carrying them around with us. Our watches connect to that. I don't. Does
Well,
anybody
history
have
has
them?
been, we take care of, so if it's damaged in your duties, like if you get a kid that breaks it,
Mhm.
or, something, you're breaking up a fight or something like that, or it gets not like you're walking the hallway and somebody runs and knocks it out of your hand.
Yeah.
We've historically.
And I
taken
think
care of
that,
I hadn't even thought about the smartwatches, but you're right, I think those do kind of fall in that same.
and I think that works well right now, but if there's a changeover in personnel and this is not memorialized here, then we might lose that opportunity to have those expensive devices replaced.
I mean, we haven't had an awful lot of it.
Mhm.
I don't recall any this year, but it's called about.
Okay. Okay, so then we're moving on to the next section here. It's still 10.04, but the next red line. In the event that an employee's car is damaged on district property by a student as an act of vandalism, the employee will seek necessary repairs and provide the district a receipt of repairs for a reimbursement. This is happening in other counties in Florida. Vandalism is being inputted into contracts for students that act now. Now, if there's a car accident in a parking lot, that's not necessarily an act of vandalism unless for some reason Johnny is just ramming into you for no other reason. Like at Leon last year, a student accidentally hit the gas instead of the brake and took out 4 cars. One went over the hill down into Tennessee Street. That's not necessarily an act of vandalism. That's an accident. But a student keys your car and insurance isn't going to recover it, or you don't want that's, in our opinion, an act of vandalism, which we should have covered. Okay. Our next red line, if an employee is the victim of theft in the course of legal performance of his or her assigned duties, unless such loss is covered by insurance or reimbursement is obtained from other sources, the district will reimburse the employee the amount of their insurance deductible. So we just added theft in there as well, as not just damage, but theft. And that we think is appropriate. Theft is in other contract languages across the state.
Have you, I'm sorry. Okay, if I don't think you want to finish.
That's fine
Are
with
you
me.
okay with that?
Yeah.
On the part about like if your car is damaged on property, have you checked, has anybody had an issue where they've had to do that, and go through our risk? Because I'd like to talk to our risk manager about that. But I think if your car's damaged on property, like somebody hits it or that I think you may be covered already under our risk management. I want to check on that.
We had an incident last year at Leon where a student hit the gas instead of a brake and took out 4 teacher cars. And I don't recall that going
Well,
in
and
as
that
risk
would be
management
more
as
of
more
an
just accident.
than a
Yeah, exactly.
thing, like something,
It's a vandalism. Yeah.
Let me talk to
Cool,
Tom.
yeah.
I wanna talk to him.
Okay.
For all of this, I mean, we're gonna have to get together and we'll have to get together and discuss, you know, our response, obviously. And part of that will be talking with
Of
our
course.
manager to ensure that we've got proper information to make the decisions. So.
Yeah.
We'll
Excellent. Alrighty, I'm gonna move on to 10.05, classroom discipline and control. Good. All right, A is the same. We added 2 subsets to A to further clarify. Support and assistance shall be provided within a reasonable time frame and last as long as needed to mitigate the situation. We think that this is happening at school sites in some areas, and then other areas it's not. In some situations go on beyond after just removing the fight. There's additional, like, if that's an incident, there's additional fallout from that in a classroom, and can additional assistance be provided as needed after just getting the 2 or 3 or whoever's involved with that situation out of the room. Number 2, additional support and assistance may be necessary after a discipline issue in the classroom. We're referring to after a student comes back from a discipline issue necessarily in this scenario, and the teacher and the administrator will work collaboratively to provide the appropriate resources to the student and the classroom. So if a student comes back into the classroom after being out for multiple days on a suspension and OFI, how do we reintegrate that student into the classroom if they were involved with another student and that was another problem there, right? Are we putting them in the same space? Do we need to look at that seating chart again? What reasonable accommodations can be provided to get that situation under control so it doesn't happen again? Alrighty, C, we know we discussed this last bargaining segment. Student discipline shall be addressed by site administrators within a reasonable time frame. Using the GODBs, the system GODB came up with for offenses and their chart somewhere, we classified those out: class 1, group A, class 1, group B, class 2, group A, class 2, group B and C, and then class 3 offenses, and assigned a daily limit to that. And that should abide by the Sessor rules based on the GODB's outline that they provided us at our last student discipline work group. Questions? Yes.
You want to show the box? Yes.
That one there that we got at the discipline work group. That one. Alrighty, we're moving on to 10.06, zero tolerance. A is the same. 1, 2, 3, and 4 are in regards to teachers. So if a teacher has an assault or battery committed against them, they will have the option to request paid leave immediately following the incident, and will have the option to remain on leave for 3 days, covered by the district. If a teacher is threatened in the classroom, they will have the option to request paid leave immediately following the incident, and will have the option to remain on leave for 1 day. If a fight between students occurs in a classroom, the teacher will have the option to request class coverage immediately after the incident for up to 2 class periods or 2 hours, the lesser of the 2, on that day. Class coverage should be provided by a full-time non-instructional staff member at the site. In an instance of student disruption where physical damage has occurred, the teacher will have the option to request class coverage immediately after the incident for up to 1 class period or 1 hour, the lesser of the 2, on that day. Coverage should be provided by a full-time non-instructional staff member at the site. We think, given that the incidences in classrooms are rising, that there is emotional damage to teachers and students. And we think that the teachers need to have a moment of a break and a breather. A student has been removed from the classroom, but a teacher now has to turn on the game face and go back at it and perform for another 3, 4, 5 periods, depending on when an incident happens. And we think that having a downtime for recovering for incidents, especially if it's not one that involves you, they're still traumatic. And we've had instances at school sites where there was fights between 2 boys, bigger than the teacher. Another group of people have to come in and remove the students, and then the teacher is breaking down crying because it's just traumatic, right? 2 of your students have just gotten to an altercation. Now they have to turn the wheels back on and perform essentially for another class period in a row, and having that option to have a break would be super beneficial. and then they can get back at it. Regroup, regather yourself, and then let's get back at it after 2 classrooms. Now, if a teacher's assaulted or hit, they might need some recovery time. We think 3 days would be an appropriate time. And then this is the option too. This is not required. A teacher can request these days off if needed. I don't think any teachers are actively seeking to get hit to get their days off, would be my understanding.
What would be your, what would you consider to be threat?
Teachers are threatened all the time. I'm going to hit you. I'm going to do that. And I think that there's a level of when they're written up as a referral and it makes it up to that point, then we have to discuss what.
So threatened with physical violence is what you mean.
Threatened verbally. Yes, Sarah has a good story.
I know of a teacher recently who the student was threatening, kind of making false accusations so that the teacher would lose their certificate. The student was that specific, like, I'm gonna say this about you and I'm gonna get you and you're gonna lose your certificate and not be able to teach. So that's another type of threat teacher than
Yeah,
our county.
physical violence,
So
shoot, kill.
what you're meaning about this in this section is not just violence. It would be threats of anything.
It'd be
I'm gonna
threat-
tell my mom, I'm gonna tell the principal you did this.
I don't
I mean,
think,
from a contract perspective, we
Yeah, I'm
need to be
thinking about-
specific.
That's to
Especially-
life or job, right? Certainly your livelihood, if your livelihood or life is threatened, you're trying to create a bar to the threat, I understand.
and I think that there is a bar to the threat if you were to write it in a referral. I'm gonna tell your mom is not a referral.
So are we saying that a referral would have to be completed?
I think in these instances, a referral would be completed on this.
So if the threat rose to the level of requiring a referral, it would probably be something like threat to their job, threat to their life.
Yeah.
Some kindergartners say things that they have no ability to say
Right.
or potentially do. And
Or that first grade student that shot their teacher in Virginia.
I'm not saying about pulling a gun or anything like that, but sometimes they
Right.
like, I'm gonna run you over the bow. Or they say crazy things, those who work in elementary school. So, but that would not be a referral. So I think the idea of like the referral where it gets to the level of there's action needs, significant action needs to be.
Yeah, right, or if there was assault or battery, significant action would be taken at that point in time. Or if there's an altercation in the classroom.
So is that documented anywhere when a student kind of behaves in that way?
I would expect that teacher documents that they communicate with the parent. And then if it becomes a individual issue, then we talk about it. Of course. And then it gets that one.
Right, I'm
Yeah.
just trying to figure out,
Yeah.
does everyone follow the same process in a situation, or is there a district-wide policy on how to handle those types of comments?
Well, and I think that going back to the whole credibility argument, I mean, in some instances, you may have, go back to a kindergartner or first grader that says, I'm gonna run you over with my boat or whatever, right? Does that really impact the teacher to the extent that they need to be able to go home for the day or they take the rest of that day off? I think that language like this may be reasonable
No,
if,
and leave for the day and take the following day off.
whatever.
But was the
Oh,
understanding that that would not lead to a referral, right?
Well, that's what I'm saying.
First
I-
grade-
Regardless if there's a referral or not, all I'm saying is this, does the threat,
Right,
Whatever
no, I
you
think
wanna
we've
call
already
it,
heard that, so we're
match
discussing a
with-
referral,
right,
because that's kind of a threshold that we could play with. That could be enough.
So we're working on the consistency part. Now, if it's a successor event, then feel like we're getting pretty close on consistency with that because we pushed it so hard. Don't know what I'm talking about. We talked about the successor. Sometimes there's the situations that are at the, maybe viewed differently by the administrator or the teacher themselves, or everybody involved. But Scott, you remember your middle school folks today, right?
Yeah, we started that.
So we're working on it. We're getting that. Now, the assessor stuff, as y'all know, we have to record something batteries, look at the definition of it. It's really a problem because it can be an elementary kid shoving an elementary. Happens. That's why it's insane. We're working on it.
Okay.
And of course, I think that it's important. I think we'll focus on asking questions that just for general understanding, so that obviously if we've got negotiation points or whatever that come after, we'll caucus and come back to the negotiation points at that point.
Yeah.
But we just really want to understand what it is that you're asking.
Yeah, and I think that like number one, if you're punched in the face, you should get to leave immediately. Right, like, so that I just mimicked the language, and I think the intention is that is to make it clean. And that way it's not so, this is this way and this is that way, but this instance falls this way. Is trying to keep it as clean and succinct as possible throughout, just like our class 1, 2, 3 offenses. That's a succinct way that one school site's doing it. We think that that's a pretty nice outlined method as to moving forward on a reasonable time frame. All right, 10.07B. We are talking about good faith reporting here. An administrator or district employee shall follow up with the reporting employee on the outcome of the report within 48 hours. If a good faith report is made that this scenario we think is going to happen, or this was that student talked to and what was the outcome, or yes, that student was talked to, whatever is deemed necessary information be passed forward. That this has gone on. It wasn't just reported to one person and then just stopped. What does that look like?
So same clarifying question. You mean 2 business days?
Sure.
Okay.
Alrighty, 10.08. Okay, so removal of students from a classroom, an administrator, we slapped, or a designated person shall be in the building at all times when students are present to handle discipline problems and emergencies. We've added a subsection to here. An appropriate phone list and flow chart of contact shall be provided to employees at the beginning of the school year. This will be updated as needed for employee role changes and resent out to staff at the school site for best points of contact. All school sites usually give a phone list, but when a new person comes on board, they don't really know who the chain of command is or who to contact. If one person's off site, who's the next person? And that's super important, right? If the substitute's in a room, maybe this is posted just kind of like our emergency drill postings. This is who you contact at these points in time. So that way we're not playing phone tag with 3 different people to get something done. B, same there. 1, send a student to a site administrator's office or call for an escort. Within that's needed to add there to maintain effective discipline in the classroom. So call for an escort as well. Moving on to our final page here. Everything else is the same except for 10.09 student records. The individual records maintained by the school administration on a student discipline shall be available to designated employees as aid for determining disciplinary recommendations concerning the students. These records shall contain infractions with the dates and actions taken. Individual records shall be available to all teachers of record for the current school year to create the best educational environment for the student. I know we quoted FERPA a lot last time we were together. I read the entire FERPA law, and FERPA law says that it can be allowed to teachers without having any issues as long as it was for the best educational environment for the student. And we think that creating seating charts, creating group assignments, understanding what has happened in another classroom down to your classroom of that student of record is in the best interest of educational records. And we had a training today on active assailant and understanding that. And one of the parts of the active assailant training was that understanding what kids have shown threats of violence. If we don't have any access to that, we don't know what kids are doing that. And so I think that that's important. MTSS records are important, and not having access or having school sites that do provide access and some school sites that don't provide access creates a discrepancy across the district. There are members in our bargaining unit that do have access due to their job title, guidance counselors and deans, and teachers do not have access that interact with those students daily. And we think that it is in our best educational interest of the child to have access to their records for the current year that we have them.
Do you mind providing the reference material from FERPA that we can review what you're referring to?
I just want to that. Just the blue. And that's it.
All right. So in terms of,
Oh, sorry. 10.084A is just a grammatical change.
also, there's a change in 10.08 for
Yeah, that's what I just mentioned.
She just.
It's just a grammatical fixing. I think I just edited the grammar. Yeah, I just fixed the A. You had like the dashes under there and it didn't fit with the flow of the contract. So I just fixed it. That's it. It's the same language.
Okay.
I just made it prettier.
All right, so in terms of, would y'all like to go ahead and break now and have us take a look at this, or do you want to go ahead and move to the MOUs?
Yeah, let's do the MOUs. That way we can both take a break. We'll look at that. You can look at that, and then we'll call it there and come back after.
So just first things first, I'm not ready to present language related to the MOU at this point. That the summer compensation, but just in general, that we have some one point of clarity that needs to be determined before we move forward with presenting the actual language. But just generally, what we'd like to do is follow the same general format for summer as we did last year. We will have 4 weeks of summer school that relates to learning loss. Okay, all 4 of those weeks this year will take place in June. Okay, and the way that we would like to approach that is, so last year we gave $1,000 and we broke that up. Accordingly, we were supposed to break it up no more than in half, but in reality, what ended up happening was we ended up breaking it into quarters, right? For certain people because they shared jobs, and so we realized that worked fine. So we're willing to continue down that path and say, okay, for this year, we'd like to add an additional amount for summer school. There's a definite need for additional summer school teachers, and we want to make sure that we're incentivizing folks to come and work with us during the summer. Of course, they'll be paid their normal hourly rate for the time that they put in while teaching. But what we want to do is offer an additional premium pay amount of $300 per week. So that $300 per week would come out to be $1,200 as opposed to $10,000.
And you would do PAFs for each week?
We would be willing to split it out according to a week by week perspective, right? Now, as it relates to this, we will pay it as soon as practical, right? Ultimately, we're sort of in a tough situation in July because of the time of year that it is and the dates of the payroll cycles. We also have our rollover right there at the end of June. So we do not anticipate that we will be able to pay. So the hourly payrolls are done mid-month. So individual teachers would get paid for those 4 weeks, their hourly rate mid-month of July, but we would not be able to pay the bonus till at least mid-month of August.
Okay, wait, let's regroup. So mid-month of July, their hourly rate will be processed to get paid at the end of July. Oh,
Hourly payments are mid. So like when they work, we anticipate that
not coming in their normal check.
well, your normal check as your contract pay is at the end of the month.
Yeah.
But if you work during the summertime, because you are hourly, our hourly employees are paid on a mid-month cycle. So even last year, whenever teachers worked, they were on an hourly cycle because they worked on hourly cycle. They were paid.
Got it.
Last year they would have gotten half of the money in mid-month of July and half of the money in mid-month of August because of the way it fell. It split between July and June.
Gotcha. I think when we were zooming the other day, we were talking end of months and not middle of months. Okay.
Right. We've got to clarify, and this is different as well. This is different. But meaning there's a lot of additional audit that has to take place with this accessory money. So we have to make sure that the people who are set to receive it are actually due that money. And then and there's also, for regular pay, there is a established infrastructure in place to ensure that people get paid, right? One of the other things is that those individuals are going to work, teachers, everyone is going to be required because they're working in a hourly capacity. They're going to be required to clock in and clock out. That's part of what will help us ensure that those people get paid accurately on that July payroll. If we don't do that, then it creates a manual process, which then causes problems, which ultimately prolong the need to for the ability to pay people out. So part of our agreement would be that, they are required to teachers, everyone that's hourly at that point in time will be required to use true time and clock in and clock out for summer only, right?
Do you have to add all these people to a true time system?
They're already in. But basically, it's fed from Skyward. So what we'll do is when we enter them into the system for their and when we enter them into the system for the assignment, it will pull it over. Now, to clarify, this is only for the learning loss summer school, right? Does not include things like 21st century. It does not include any other, various camps and whatnot that they're doing.
And you'll distinguish that out in the MOU?
And so,
So that's the new info.
that's the new info as it relates to and if you guys are in agreement in principle, then we can memorialize it into verbiage and get it going.
Okay. And then
The other is, we do have information on this one, and this one is related to the MOU for a stipend for,
previous year gifted,
sorry,
previous year gifted, or current year,
year.
current year. back.
So basically what it is that we have we have a shortage of individuals who have the gifted endorsement, right?
Mhm.
We do have some money that is available in a grant through Burger Shop, where the gifted endorsement, we're able to offer a $500 stipend for individuals that receive that endorsement. We have $10,000 available. And of course, we would like to, as long as the money is, so we have $10,000 available for this year.
Mhm.
But what we'd like to be able to do is, once we're able to confirm that money is there next year as well, we'd like to enter into another agreement shortly thereafter, once we've gotten into that, into that year. So that, and it's early in the year, so that as people get those endorsements and have them added to their certificate, we can pay the amounts.
Okay.
Right? So here's the language. If you want to reach out. Yeah, so review that.
That's our jobs.
Point of clarification on the endorsements, are they voluntary, and would not getting the endorsement have any impact on recert or reappointment?
What do you mean, are they voluntary?
To get it added to,
Absolutely. We're encouraged, we're offering the stipend to encourage people to do it. We're not requiring people to do it, and we're not planning to make reappointment decisions on the basis of it. What we're just trying to do is incentivize people to have because of a shortage.
just clarification.
There's no administrators telling their staff that they need to add the gifted endorsement.
I can't say that. There may be administrators that would like people to add the gifted endorsement, right? What we're trying to do
But they
is
can't
incentivize
require
that. Yeah, and we're not saying it, to my knowledge, and I would, and if I was to find out, I would definitely discourage this to say, if there was an administrator out there saying, you need to get your gifted endorsement, and if not, I'm going to make this reappointment decision. I don't think that's, I've not heard.
If there's only 4 people that qualify for this, what happens to the other $8,000.
It's part of the grant. So I mean, if there's money that's not getting used, then it would stay with the grant.
This is funds that it can only be spent.
This way.
So it
Mhm.
can't be.
Held in perpetuity, does it
So
expire?
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at. Is it,
It's a federal grant.
It
okay,
goes forward.
so it just goes away.
No, you're not,
But it does
not
go away.
necessarily.
So the grant has to be.
Right.
Okay, gotcha. That's what I was getting at.
And, you know, there was the question that was, okay, what if we have more people than we have money for? Essentially, what we could do is we'll spend the $10,000 that we have, and we'll do it first come, first serve. The people that are next in line, we can look to spend the following year if the money is renewed, right? So we want to try and be able to reward these folks for receiving the stipend.
Okay, and then teachers have to pay to add this to their certificate and pay for the coursework?
They do.
They do. Okay.
And to clarify for myself, the way you just said it, Brett, made it seem to me that if a teacher would get it this school year on the grant and there was a wait list, that didn't get funding, then next year they would be eligible for the funding if the grant became available again.
That would
So-
be our intention.
It's not like a recurring
not a
stipend, it's a
recurring
one-time
stipend, it's a one-time.
incentive.
It's not like you get it every year
Yeah.
for having you get it. Really, it's to help offset the cost, because there is a cost of them going through and adding it to their certificate, but it also is an incentive because it's more than just the cost, right? It's a $500 stipend, and it costs $75 or something to add it to the certificate.
So I'm under the impression that this takes longer to get added to your certificate than 1 year, that this is a multi-year process.
I've not heard that. Now, DOE does get backed up.
No, I'm not
But-
saying to get it added to your certificate takes multiple years. I'm taking the coursework takes multiple.
There are multiple classes that have to be taken.
Yeah, and it doesn't just get completed in a 1-year time frame. So if you started in a certain year thinking that this incentives generally takes 2.
But yeah, basically as they go through those courses, there's 5 classes, correct, Shane? Five classes that they have to take. And then once they're done, I think that they can add it just as quickly as DOE will put it in.
Yes. If someone wasn't able to get it added to their certificate because of a DOE backup, but they have all the necessary coursework, could provide it and prove it to you, but we're just waiting on DOE, can they still qualify for this?
Problem with that, this will end on June 30th because the grant ends on June 30th. So we can't process any dollars with this specific grant for the 23-24 school year after June.
Because it specifically says had to be on their certificate. Gotcha. Okay.
So teachers must have already been in the process to be able to do
Potentially
this.
for 2 years.
We have several teachers that are in that process. We actually have several teachers that have all 5 classes and just don't have it on their certificate. So they could just add it for their certificate.
By June 30th.
Next.
No, it's this year. Yeah. Okay. I guess it's July 31st, but
Is it June 30th
So
or July 31st?
July
That's-
31st.
Theirs is up here, though.
Yeah,
Theirs is a month off.
Yeah,
Yes. Okay.
Theirs is just off.
Okay.
I was gonna say Brooke provided those dates, so I believe
Yeah.
that they're correct.
They are.
So they're just month off.
All right. So we can break now and walk through our various
Yeah, let's
points.
break
and then
for
we'll
like
come back.
no more than 20 minutes.
That'll be fine.
15 is fine with me.
15 minutes.
Fine
will be
with 15. Let's go.
Well, it's more than we offended by your 20 minutes.
Ooh, I said no. Please run over.
Honestly, I don't. We will have an awful lot of feedback coming back tonight.
'Cause you're gonna
So,
TA it.
Well, I don't know that we're gonna TA tonight.
Still hopeful. Yeah.
But I think that what we can talk about it, we'll ask any additional
Yes.
questions. I think we will have maybe a counter, because we had some language that we wanted to add as well as it related to TAN and discipline. So,
Okay.
We'll come back as soon as we can.
Okay.
And then, from there, we'll just look to set rates next time.
Yes.
All right, perfect. All right, thank you. Let's do.
Just no nicknames that are too.
Uh-oh.
I hit the button.
Get ready.
The button's
All right,
on.
we're ready. The button's been hit. So just to follow up, we did go in and there's a lot of information to cover, and we do have some additional things that we would like to add as well into our 10 proposal. And so what we'll plan to do is the next time that we get together, we'll come back to the counter.
Okay.
That addresses all of the language that you guys have entered, as well as incorporates language that we would like to see incorporated as well. Okay.
Great.
Any other comments?
On Article 10? No. Do you have any comments on Article 10? No, we made some notes from the different things that were discussed, and I guess we'll wait for your proposal back, your counter proposal. And then we can add in some of our additional notes too. That way
Now,
we're close.
yeah,
So,
what I would appreciate is the MOU sort of, we brought it up in this setting, but obviously if I can get you some proposed MOU language in the near term so that we can try and get that agreed to sooner rather than later, because it affects our plans for summer. That's one reason why we're trying to talk about that.
okay, definitely.
That's the compensation for summer.
Okay. The team has some questions that they would like to ask. I can't remember them all.
First one is, does it include ES? No, go ahead.
So for
Lisa.
summer compensation?
Yeah.
Okay. Does it include ESY? Yes. So there will be, so basically ESY will have the same dates, except for there will be 2 additional weeks in July for ESY. And so at this point in time, they would receive the same bonus compensation.
Would they get an additional
They would,
money for
that's
the
why we're
2
breaking
additional
it.
weeks?
Yes, breaking it down by week. So it'd be 300 a week or 6 weeks instead of 300 a week for.
How much money?
Is it gonna be 6 weeks?
Yeah.
Okay. So the past.
I'm good.
What was it?
In the past, it's
I
been
think it's
5.
starting earlier this year, because we're getting out earlier.
I was-
School's starting earlier too.
We've always done 2 and 4.
Yeah.
ESY used to be, in addition to the summer reading academy, it was, 4 and 2. I think July we had 2 weeks.
So it goes into July for ESY.
It does.
And so is that still meaning that compensation would still fall on half month of July, half
Yes.
month of August?
Only the June.
Only the,
Only the June.
Right.
And just so everybody understands, I mean, in any other job, if you work the first week in June and you don't get paid until the middle of August, that's kind of like, it's a very long time. So, I mean, we understand there's limitations, but at the same time,
Well, if you're working in
Expedite.
June, you're gonna get paid in July.
Yeah.
Because
The hourly
you-
rate, it's
The
the-
bonus is
your
what's
bonus
getting
is
paid
what's gonna
retroactively.
take-
right. It's because of
still
the,
compensated.
it's because of the, all of the audit pieces that go along with it. We've got to make sure that we pay the right people and we don't pay people that aren't supposed to get it. And what we've recognized even from last year, is part of the reason why we said 21st century does not apply and others, because we had administrators that submitted compensation for people that were, for this bonus that were not eligible for it. Then that had to be paid out of a grant, which, it didn't technically, correspond. So we've got to make sure that's correct. And so for ESY specifically, they, and summer school as well, they're being paid for their hourly rate on the very next hourly payroll. So if we can get their hours in, they'll get paid on the next hourly payroll. The hourly payroll is mid-month. The bonus we will get, it will probably be at least August, mid-month, before we're able to get it in.
So which summer school activities are not included, so we can make sure we clearly communicate that to everybody?
There's, I
You want
can't,
to talk to them about the form?
you want to speak to it?
So because there was miscommunication, once everything is agreed to, we plan to develop a form that each person will sign so that they clearly know what is applicable and what is not applicable
And there-
before they work.
Right. And the reason, there's a lot of different things that are out there during the summer. There's things that teachers do that we don't even pay them for, right? That working for the Boys and Girls Club or this and that. And so can it be all encompassing? The major things that apply, we can tell them, right? Ultimately, I think that if there's summer learning loss, they're gonna get it, right? If it's ESY, they're gonna get it. Otherwise, they're not gonna get it, right? But pre-include ESY. So, the vast, and we're trying to, what we're trying to do with this compensation package is sweeten the pot. I mean, we recognize that there are teachers out there, they only get a certain amount of time off. And we want to incentivize them to come and work these summer sessions.
No, how many teachers work these summer sessions? Could
Not off the top of my
Off
head.
head.
Could I email it to you and you could tell me like a rough number?
We could tell you how many
20?
worked last summer.
100?
The problem is that we can give you a discrete number of teachers, but know that that doesn't mean that each teacher worked the
Not the
entire
full time.
summer.
Gotcha. Okay. Do you know how much money in ESSER funds, this ESSER 3 funds you have left?
None.
That's not true. Well, unless
You
you're
just need
spending a lot.
$50 a week.
Funds that are
Right.
Ah,
are specifically allocated for a purpose at this point.
Unless otherwise negotiated.
Those funds are not, I mean, those are one-time funds. We would never negotiate. We should not negotiate any type of salary with one-time funds. They're going away in 20.
Wasn't salary.
Okay,
It's just-
but no, they're already obligated for specific purposes. If we don't use those funds for that, we'd have to use general fund.
And
Can we get a list of those things?
Maybe.
So that's,
Depends on
Please.
what I feel like.
They're on the,
the
our ESSER 3 budget. Every school district has their budget on the Department of Education website.
And I would add that we're going to have to do amendments to our budgets as it is, because we are trying to sweeten the pot, because we do feel like we want to incentivize teachers to work through the summer. That's the reason why we added this.
On the gifted MOU, do you know how much it is to get a gifted endorsement? Not the 75 to get it added, but like what all the coursework costs? Does anybody know?
So according to where you take it, okay, so if you're taking it through Fiddlers, it's free.
Okay.
If you take it through Weekend, it's $300 a course. If you take it through a place in Jacksonville, I want to say it is $75.
Okay, so that's a pretty big variation there. Okay.
so in the process of maybe communicating with folks, that the link to Fiddlers would be included so that they have no.
Yeah.
I'm just saying when it's communicated out, not include the other two options. Just an idea.
The problem with that is only a 2-year program.
Okay. So they could get it done quicker for more money.
Because if you're paying
Worry
to
about
take
the
it
kid.
online, probably take it all out. Online. Is that your own pace?
If only 4 people qualify for this, can you up the stipend?
For this year.
Not for this
Spend all
year,
10,000?
No.
Not for this year.
but I think that that's something that we can look at in future years. That we need to figure out how much participation there will be, right? And ultimately how much we can get behind.
The issue with that is that grant is approved by Department of Education.
Okay, and so they've specified the 500.
So, well, they wrote it in as the 500, but they knew that we got the 500 done and approved when we did the Title II grant.
Okay,
And so we can see that
Gotcha.
that's always
So this
subject
is
to
your
approval
writing.
by the Department of Education.
got it.
Do you guys have, are you guys able to see which teachers have started these courses? Or would teachers have to report to somebody that they're working towards earning this incentive?
The only one that we could even ask about would probably be Fiddlers, and we would have to ask them to look. But we can't tell because the other ones are online.
Okay.
And then through other third party.
Okay. So that would just be tricky to see like how Brett, how you had just said, for this year, you wanted to kind of gauge people's interest in who wants to participate in this kind of incentive program, but there may be a lot of people who start it this year when they see this opportunity that you guys aren't aware of. So that might be something to just keep in mind too.
My comment was simply saying that in future years, it's really what we decide to do is open to negotiation, right? For this year, what has been proposed is $500 per stipend, and we have $10,000 to spend. It's lockstep. In the future, we have the ability to negotiate. Doesn't mean it will change necessarily, but at least I'm just not locking us into this is what law is speaking. That's my thought process. But in terms of are there any other summer compensation questions?
Clocking in and clocking out.
Oh, yeah. Can we not do that?
No.
Why?
Summer is hourly. So we have, with all of our hourly employees, we're required to clock
Has that
Even
been,
teachers?
has that
It's in
been,
the contract that
Just in
teachers
the
do not clock in and out.
in. You're hourly. So in order to pay you correctly, and most of our hourly teachers are people that are, they're not on a regular schedule. So they're coming in.
That would
as
be a better way to say it, but
signing in and out?
No, it's not there.
signing in, clocking in, we're
This is
just.
not specific to
yeah.
teachers. It's all of the.
No, I
hourly
understand that,
Yeah,
but has
when
that
they're-
been the past practice with summer school that teachers clocked in and clocked out or signed in and signed out?
We have, when
teachers
you're an
have done that?
hourly teacher, so when you're contract, right? When you are a contracted teacher,
Yeah.
you have 7.5 hours, we know what your daily hours are, right? When you're hourly, we don't have that. And so in order to know what you're paying that individual, we have to.
And so this has
calculate
been
those hours.
happening.
Yes, and we actually, up until before, it was a sign in, sign out. Now, True Time has been fully implemented, and we basically are using it to feed our system, our payroll system, that then, pays the bills. And so they clock in, there's a direct tie, there's no manual entry,
Mhm.
it's correct, it's easy. That's the way we're doing it. It's definitely not because we don't trust teachers or anything along those lines. It's just all of our hourly employees across the district, because they're not in the system as a contract employee with a set number of hours. We have to be able to count those.
And
Okay.
for the requirement, is that the district requirement, federal requirement, state requirement, and can you provide documentation as to the necessity of the requirements?
For
For
having a
clocking
time
in?
sheet for
Clocking in, yeah.
hourly employees.
Yes, just so that we have it on record.
I would say,
So how would you suggest that we pay employees that are hourly if we don't have a time sheet?
Well, when I did summer school, I taught and then I was paid. So I'm not quite sure how it was done then, but you worked your hours and you probably worked more
We
than
don't
those
have a
hours.
contract hours.
It was
in
in
the
the summer.
in the summer, you don't have that. Yeah. It would have
What
been.
is the school day of teaching?
Yeah, I was gonna say, part of the problem with summer school that became a real problem last year, I think I can speak to this. Between Reading Academy, summer school, every school does different times. Some schools are only gonna be 4 weeks. Some schools hosting will be all 6 weeks. ESY may be, whatever the student needs, and then teachers are sharing positions. So we require you fill out an hourly timesheet. If you do a training outside of the school day, you fill out an hourly timesheet marking who you are, what you are doing, and when you did it. So that's been, I don't know if you guys are not familiar with that, but that's been common practice.
It's as much about making sure that we're paying people correctly as anything. And that's really what it's about. And because we do not have a standard set number of hours that these people are working every single day. In the past, we've signed in. This is something that we've always done. This is we have a new system through time with a new system for capturing it. And so that in that circumstance, they go to the.
Yeah, it cuts down on the paperwork. It cuts down on the verifying the hours. I mean, it's a cleaner. I don't even think don't you sign in on
You
your
just-
computer? Are you
Yeah,
signing
you can
in?
either go into a computer or you can go to a clock and enter a number. It's very simple.
It's basically just an electronic version of what
No,
you've
no, we
been doing
understand
in
what, I
paper.
think we've got the
So
idea
still
down.
help me understand, as not a K through 12 teacher, for the 4 weeks of learning loss summer school, is it not a fixed school day if you're at Fairview or wherever? Any school, take a school, where you show up at 8 and you leave at 4. And then so to that point, if the teachers now are staying extra for planning and stuff, they're gonna get into overtime. All their pay is gonna be different day to day potentially. Is that? That's what
There
I'm-
will be standard hours and it
Okay.
won't be a full 7.5 hours. But, you know, and they will generally work the same hours per day. But what we're saying is that because they're set up as hourly employees, our system, if they're set up as hourly employees, our system requires that there be a time entry for the individual.
Right.
We don't have the ability to set up an alternative summer contract period that says, you know, that's totally outside of our current contract. It's like you get one contract period for our payroll system.
Right.
And so the alternative to that is an hourly assignment, which has to be, the hours have to be fed into it. And so, so anytime you are not, so according to, going back to the federal piece, under FLSA, if you're not paid on a salary basis, then you're hourly. You're hourly, you have to clock in and out to clock out.
Well, and again, you're assuming that every person attends for the entire period, every day.
I'm
that
not
they're
assuming, I'm
expected to.
asking what's going on.
No, I'm just
but-
saying that that is not the case. So when we
Right.
went back to look at premium pay, there were not teachers who worked every hour of every summer school day. They traded out with other teachers.
Okay.
Again, it's much more flexible in the summer, and I think that teachers took advantage of that.
And I can promise you one thing. This is not the gateway to us asking teachers to clock in and out during the school years. This is
All the
not what
recordings
this
are
is.
going, my
This
phone's
is-
going.
This is not a gateway. It is simply because when you're in the hourly assignment during the summer, you're not being paid on a salary basis, and thus we are required to track hours.
Well, also,
Okay?
yeah, the auditors also full time sheets,
Right.
so it's audit thing too. Doesn't matter, whoever,
So-
if you're hourly, they're gonna full time, they will full time sheets.
And, you know, what we were hoping is that we, you know, in good faith, that we could go ahead and get this MOU squared away sooner rather than later, so that we can go ahead and get the information out. We can start getting teachers signed up for summer school early, and there's no rush at the end for everyone to, you know, to deal with, whether it's you, the teacher, the administrator. We'd like to just get the information out.
You can TA 10. Will good faith your MOU.
Oh,
Uh-huh.
Are other questions?
Feel like
nope.
swapsies with
the
swapsies.
I mean, that's it.
That's right.
It's not something that's required, you know, either. So I mean, if you don't want to agree to it, then I mean,
That's fine.
that's fine. But I think what we're looking for is to incentivize the situation.
They got no teacher, and then, oh, it wasn't as fine as we thought.
Yeah. Well, there's a
That's why
reason
we're
we're
here.
asking.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I get it.
There's a reason we're asking.
Were there any next questions?
No, I don't have any other questions. You got any questions? We hit them all.
The only other thing I would say is, okay, so what I would propose, I've got a couple, like, I'm thinking that over the course of the next couple of months, we, you know, if we finish sooner, we'd like to finish as soon as possible. Go back to the whole thing about the sooner we're able to get done with bargaining, the sooner we can get contracts out, everyone feels better about it, right?
Yes.
But right now, I'm anticipating at probably at least a couple, you know, probably 4 sessions extra at this point. So what I was thinking is a session the week of May, either the 9th, 10th, or 11th. So those are 9th, 10th, or 11th are a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So either any of those dates.
Except the 11th.
Not the 11th.
That's the celebration. Not celebration.
The night of celebration.
Okay.
I wasn't invited.
May, so May.
I'll be here.
So-
We can meet at 11.
Yeah.
So May 9th, 10th, 11th, May 23rd, 24th, 25th.
Wait, hold on. 9th or 10th,
Yeah,
the 23rd, 24th, 25th.
right. June 13th, 14th, 15th. June 27th, 28th, 29th.
June 27th, 28th, 29th is a no-go.
Okay.
I'll be in a car on the way to Boston.
Yeah, so 9th, the board meeting. So no 9. These are just proposed dates. So I mean, I wanted to float these dates out there for you guys, and you guys can sort of shoot back and say what we think will work. Okay.
14,
If we can
13,
make
14, 15?
June 13th.
June 13th, 14th, 15th.
Okay.
One of those days.
All of them.
So basically, I'm providing like, we want to do 1 per week, and then we've got 4, so it looks like we're narrowed down to May 10th on the first week, just based on what we've said so far. Then the 23rd, 24th, 25th, just let me know what will work for you. I'll get with my team as well. And
So the 23rd, 24th, 25th are all the high school graduations and the variety of graduations that week. Does that involve?
sometimes, if you guys can meet, then we'll.
On the 10th?
It may be that we do
Some
it.
days. I think the 24th, I think we might be starting half days. 23rd and 24th, maybe hit the,
It's a Wednesday.
yeah, hit in the beginning of the week before, I think the graduations fall at the end. Okay,
All right.
we'll look at it.
So I'm only floating these dates. I know it can be difficult to get dates not narrowed down. And there's gonna be dates where we just can't do it. So,
Let's put May 10th on the calendar.
okay. So May 10th, can I confirm May 10th for you tomorrow?
Oh,
I mean,
sure.
I think that
Can you
if y'all want to, I think that May 10th
Okay.
sounds like a date that would probably work.
Mhm.
I just want to confirm it with our team, and
Okay,
then that can be our next meeting.
okay.
All right.
Would it be after?
Yeah.
Are we planning to do after hours moving forward?
Does
Like
4:30 not?
4:30.
Yes, yeah, we have to start after, at least at 4:30. That first week in June, the 5th through the 9th doesn't work? No, okay.
But I mean, like I said, we'll start with the 10th, and then if y'all want to just follow up on the other dates.
Probably gonna be the 23rd, but we'll follow up with it, because then we probably want to get earlier in the week. I think we're on half days then, so maybe we can do earlier in the day
Okay.
to avoid the high school conflicts and graduations.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, we're open, and hopefully we'll be able to get things wrapped up soon, and move forward. The one thing that is the only thing that is a variable is we're still waiting on numbers regarding teacher salary increase allocation state.
Let's pick our favorite ones.
Can we get dates for middle school and high school ceremonies? Because I know Ra is on the 24th, as Leon High is on the 24th. So,
Do
Is that
you know
fantastic?
your high school graduation date right now? What day is it?
Thursday,
The 25th?
7:00.
so,
Would you like me to just?
no, we just wanted to make sure that we weren't scheduling for days that you had to be somewhere and you didn't
So,
want to try to
Tuesday-
bargain and then go to an event.
So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday is 7:00, and then there's no Friday. And then you have 2 on Saturday, which are, I think, 10, 3.
Okay, and I think
Now,
Tuesday starts our
somebody-
half
let me see,
days.
Sale is maybe
Monday,
Monday, I think.
Okay.
what came out?
It has been sent out, the
Yeah.
breakdown of all different. sales.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's on,
Virtual school. and-
Would you
Virtual
guys
and
be open to
paid.
doing it on
Yeah, they're all-
Monday?
Rendition,
If it was a non-board meeting Monday?
It's the 22nd.
Too many emails.
Yeah, the 22nd.
Or something along those lines.
Or if the 23rd's a half
Oh, I'm
day,
talking about this.
if the 23rd's a half day, we could just start earlier in the day.
No, the actual.
And
board
since
meeting,
our
I think,
contract
on a
language is
Monday.
almost identical, we could really.
Yeah.
Because, yeah.
Because the
meeting
graduation's
is on
taking
Monday.
place.
So, okay, for now, it looks like we have one day narrowed down, May 10th.
Yeah.
And we'll try, and then from there, we'll work on additional.
You're one of
All
them.
right,
That's fine.
that's probably the most difficult part of what we're doing, is just trying to get.
Yeah.
Imagine if Leonard were still.
I know.